The officer said, "You're under arrest for arson." I said, "I know. I'm the one who called you." He stopped moving. "Say that again." "I called 911 6 minutes ago, reported a fire and a man inside. Then I sat on this curb and waited." He looked at me like I was insane. Maybe I was. 2 more units came up the street and men shouted at me to show my hands. I raised them slowly. I wasn't in a hurry. I'd waited 9 years for this. 9 years since my father died in a warehouse fire everyone called an accident. 9 years of knowing better and nobody listening. They cuffed me and put me in a car. I didn't speak. Not on the ride, not during booking, not when they photographed the soot on my hands. 2 hours later, they walked me into a room with gray walls and a metal table. A detective came in. Older, the kind of tired that doesn't come off with sleep. He dropped a folder down and sat. "Explain why a man calls in a fire then waits around to get arrested for it." I didn't said it, but there's a body in that building, and I know exactly who put him there. You're covered in smoke, because I went in after it started and dragged him halfway to the door before the ceiling came down. He was already gone. Then I called you. He leaned back and folded his arms. "All right, who said it?" "Before I answer, pull a case file. 9 years old. Warehouse fire on Delcourt. Victim, Arthur Kane." Something shifted in his face. Why? Because that's where this began. He stared at me a long moment, then left. He came back 20 minutes later with a folder that had dust on the edge. "Arthur Kane, 47, electrical fault, ruled accidental." It wasn't a fault, and he was my father. He looked at the file again, then at me. "The business partner was cleared," he said. 2 employees put him across town. Those 2 employees were paid, and the man who died tonight was one of them, Neil Prosser. 16 years working for my father's partner. He signed the statement that cleared him. I watched him start connecting it. 3 weeks ago, Prosser called him and said he was done. Said he was going to a lawyer. Said he couldn't carry it anymore. The detective had started writing. "And you know about a private call, how? I've been recording that man's calls for 6 years. His pen stopped. The first 2 years I was 19 and nobody would listen. So I stopped asking people to believe me and started collecting proof myself. That's illegal. So is burning a man alive." He set the pen down. "If Prosser was ready to talk, why not send him to us? Because that man doesn't let people talk. I've had a tracker on his truck for 2 years. Tonight it went to Prosser's shop at 11:40. Nothing scheduled. I parked at the end of the block. I saw the light change color in the windows. I went in. I paused. I was 90 seconds too late. The detective was quiet for a while. "You have anything to back this up?" I moved slowly to my jacket. He tensed. I pulled out a flash drive and slid it across. 6 years of calls. Bank transfers to both witnesses. Dated 11 days after my father died. Messages about how to handle the investigation. It's all there. He picked it up and turned it over in his fingers. "Why not bring this to us before?" I tried. Twice. First time, a detective told me I was a grieving kid looking for someone to blame. Second time, his lawyer was in the lobby before I finished my sentence. I leaned forward. "But tonight there's a body. Tonight your department has to open a case. Tonight he can't make one phone call and make this go away." The detective looked at the drive, then at the old folder, then at me. He stood up and walked out without a word. I sat alone for 3 hours. When the door opened, 2 officers were behind him. "We picked him up 40 minutes ago. Accelerant on his boots. Gas can still in his truck bed. He thought he had all night." I closed my eyes. His lawyer's already yelling. "With those recordings, it won't matter. And me? You're free to go. We'll need you to testify." "I'll be there." He studied me. "You planned every piece of this." I stood up. "I told my father I'd finish it. Took me 9 years to keep my word. The trial ran 4 weeks. 2 counts of murder. Life, no parole." I didn't cry when they read it. I'd done that a long time ago. Afterward, I drove to the cemetery and stood at my father's headstone for the first time since the burial. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to.